and then it just turned off. I was like, it was because I had maybe it's because I have my phone leaning against it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, probably leaning on the off button, you retard.
No,
They never went round anyone's house with guns going, "Where's your gold?" Everybody just took it voluntarily.
well, look what we're doing currently is voluntarily.
Yeah, everyone just voluntarily locked themselves in their home and then trotted off and took a vaccine that they don't know what the fuck it is. And don't go buy Coinbase stock. Waste of time, because Coinbase could go bust. Their CEO could do something dodgy and the stock goes down. Now, just buy the underlying layer, buy some Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin wins, you win.
Yeah, get off the Titanic. Get on your little raft. I'm trying to rock the cap with the headphone look today.
Double hat wanker.
Something like that. How's it going?
Yeah, good man. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
You know, yeah, got my whiskey, got the podcast all geared up.
Damn right.
It's yeah, life's good.
Rock and roll. Bloody hell, that's strong.
Was it a different one or the same one?
I had more, but I think I didn't put. I think I'm used to it having more ice. Being
yeah. Well, it melts, doesn't it? So as the pod goes, it will get weaker because the ice will melt.
And then I start enjoying it more. Yeah. So as I was saying to you, so a bit of the old family stuff. So I've got Harry and me tickets to watch the Villa against Newcastle next Saturday. So we've gone up halfway up the stadium on the side, just by the halfway line. So happy days. So we'll see how that goes. I've got me and him a membership, so we got priority tickets. So I can get me and him tickets whenever I want. So he's got it's hopefully be a warm day because August. So best possible chance for him to enjoy it. And then my thought is he'll get the bug and he'll enjoy it. But again, you just don't know, do you?
Could go either way, couldn't it? Or you could have a bad experience. Someone scores, he gets knocked over, and then never wants to go again.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people have said things like, "Why don't you take him to like a local game or something like that?" But it's not the same. Like that is boring. But going with the atmosphere, it'd be a sellout as well. Obviously, it's already pretty much sold out, and it's not even gone to general sale yet. So.
Yeah. The only problem is because he is the age he is. What I've noticed is that you can show him some really like spectacular stuff. Like when I've spent time with him, and he just lives his life that miracles happen every day, and they don't really go in his brain that I don't think you have the ability to like appreciate things when you're 3, because it's just like, you know, he can see like a new animal and it's just, yeah, whatever. Like this is one of the rarest animals ever. Like this is amazing. Or you take him on a boat and it's just, yeah, I need a wee. You know, it's just and it's because you're 3, right? And it's just life's amazing. Like you're seeing
what's next.
Like every single thing you see when you're 3 is the first time you saw it. So it all tends to blend in. And I think it's only when you probably maybe get to 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know when it really starts to happen, that you realize, oh no, like a football game in the Premiership with like 50,000 people crowded in and a goal goes in. That's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And that is different to watching Spider-Man on YouTube in the morning. These two things are different. And I think at 3, you don't quite get it. But the good thing is when he is 8 or whatever, he will slightly remember this memory back when he was 3 and he'll love it then. He'll appreciate it then. But probably at the moment, it'll just kind of like wash over his head, I reckon. But he'll love it. It's a great idea.
I really want to get him in the whole end, but then I thought, nah, too soon. Too soon.
Yeah, you'll come back with some bad words and chants, no doubt.
yeah, I can't wait. So that's gonna be fun.
What did you call the referee, Harry?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be on best behaviour, aren't I?
Referees, what are they? They're wankers. Oh, are they?
yes, son.
Okay.
But only when you're at Villa Park without your mum.
Get him in early.
Yeah. So I think something quite topical to touch on is the recent A-levels and GCSEs, which everyone says, don't they, when you grow up, like, oh, it was a lot easier now than it was in my day. And when you actually look back and it does, because I was always under the impression that you remember the graph, the bell chart. So like, and you got the first like bottom 5% and the top 5%, like they fail, they get A stars. Then it goes down, and eventually the bulk of the people get your B's and C's, like the average grade.
Yep.
Probably more C's and D's actually. I don't know, but I was quite astounded. So the one that makes this one stand out from the rest for me is that they're all a lot of them were not even exam results; they were estimated results, weren't they?
Yeah, like
They
predicted.
were like
Yeah.
predicted grades. And this is the balmy thing. So a predicted grade is now going to get you into a university course. A predicted grade.
What happened, by the way? I actually don't know what the story is here. Like, have they gone up?
Oh yeah, 30% up. So
From
30% of people got the top grade. 30% got the top grade.
which is an
So
A star?
A star at A level now because of it. Obviously, everyone getting A's.
30% of people got A stars.
Yeah, A stars and A level.
What's it normally? It's got to be like 5.
Yeah. Oh, and an A star is like you're talking probably plus 80%, and that's A level. How difficult were they? So we've given 30%, and obviously it's all-time highs. GCSEs again, all-time highs for the top grade. So people now are going to be going into university, and what will happen is the world is going to go back to normal. And I know what it was like when I went and did biomed. It's difficult. University is difficult, and if you're not actually genuinely at that level, it's very hard. However, are they going to continue this throughout the system? But I don't know.
All they care about is getting as many kids into university as possible because it's a business. So every kid that goes in is worth like an X amount of pounds to each university. And then they're also worth between 20 and 30 grand per year to the government because they loan them a load of money. So the government, if you look at it as a product, universities and the government want as many kids to get good grades at A level so they go on to uni and buy the next product. It's just a different stage of the game. Whereas, you know, at GCSE and A level, you technically get it for free, but the big end of the scam is, oh no, this is where we sting you for everything. This is where the universities come in, cash in, and and they get everyone levered up with debt. And I never understood how these grades can go up and down, because the bell curve that you described then, that's exactly what they use. So it changes.
Doesn't matter what, I was gonna say, it doesn't matter what the top grade is.
Like the bell curve is exactly what you said, which is like you've got A stars and A's where it should be less than 10% get those. Then you've got E's and F's, less than 10% get those. And then 80% of the people get the middle grades between like B and D. And all you do every time the exam results come in, you just plot all the grades on that chart.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can give an easy exam where the average is like 80%. That doesn't mean you give the average person an A. All you do is you move the bell curve along and go, how far do I need to move it? And go, all right, if the average is 80, that means 80% only gets you a C. And then 85 gets you a B, 90 gets you an A, and then 95 is the A star. You just move it. And I always thought that was a little bit corrupt personally, because as a student, you're competing, like, or if anything, it probably isn't that corrupt, but essentially it means like you're competing against everyone else your age that took the exam that year. And if you have a really smart year, for example, where there's just a load of geniuses, they will move the average up. And then me as like a normal person may have got, say, a B this year. But last year, or say 5 years ago, a load of stupid, we had a stupid generation, and I'd have been an A then. So, and it's purely because the bell curve is moving. It depends on, so the fact that if grades have gone up that much, all that means is they've just manipulated the bell curve and gone, screw it, we're not going to move it, we're just going to leave it where it is, and we're going to send a load of kids off to uni and put it in straight away. I didn't know this right until now. When I look at it, what's happened the last year and how unattractive is university at the moment, because they're threatening lockdowns. Everyone's thinking of putting off uni for another year. They're threatening to do an entire year of Zoom calls. You can't party and all that. They might lock it down over Christmas. And obviously everyone loves their first year and second year of university. You have a great time. So it wouldn't surprise me if what they've done this for is to give a load of people a load of confidence that you're really smart, get into a better university, maybe that you would have been able to, because you've got better grades, although it's not really a better grade. They've just fudged it and given everyone a better grade. And to make sure this year of students will go.
The other thing as well I was thinking about is, let's remove the government and the students and the universities, but if your career is in teaching, what do you put on your CV when you're going to go for the next job? It's going to be probably your percentage pass rate and your percentage ace, isn't it? Just what you would naturally do, because normally it goes to an exam board, so it gets completely, it's independently reviewed, your grade, so you can actually use them as a criteria on your CV. So why would you ever penalise kids for their predicted grades? You're obviously going to give them more bonus. Go, no, I've had a really good year.
Oh yeah,
You put them all higher, and it will flex well on you, doesn't it?
yeah.
So everyone wins.
Always predicted grades are always slightly higher, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
are overconfident about their students quite often.
Yeah. Oh dear.
But it doesn't add up to me, because even if they did that and all the recommendations went in, if the central authority at the top of UCAS could have just gone, there's too many A's in here. So you have to go back and drop off 15% of your A's have to go to B's. You can decide it, but you need to rank you've given me, say, 30 students here out of your class that are going to get an A. You have to drop off, I don't know, say 12 of them and put them to B's. You decide. But the bell curve doesn't fit this. We're giving too many people A's. That's what should have happened. And the fact they didn't bother doing that, to me, just looks suspect, because that's what they've always done. This has happened so many times before. Occasionally, what can happen is an exam is too easy. So all they do is they adjust the bell curve.
My computer just turned itself off.
Did it?
It just said slide up to shut down, and then it just turned off. I was like, it was because maybe it's because my phone leaning against it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, probably leaning on the off button, you retard.
No, the off button's up here. It was next to Control FN and Windows and Alt. So whether or not a coordination of them, who knows? But yeah, so I know what you were saying. You were saying about, obviously UCAS could have done something about it. But my concern is, like, these guys are going to go to university, either A, fail, or B, get a job they shouldn't be in, because we all know people shouldn't be in certain jobs already. I know that was it. Something I heard, this is a headline, that something like the average grade a private school kid got was an A. Not an A star, obviously, it's just an A. So basically, you paid for your grades, didn't you?
Education's a scam. We know it is.
Yeah. So talking of scams, I was talking to someone a few weeks ago, and they were telling me about a shitcoin scam. And I don't think we've really covered any shitcoins, have we, since we've been involved? And it was quite interesting, actually. So he was like, these two guys that he knows, and they're like normal guys, good guys, and not scammers at all. They got involved with a shitcoin, and they got talking to like the developers. So it's all, I guess, the whole network, get to know them. A little bit like that guy that I talked about on Facebook that you hate and I hate. And basically what he ended up getting him to do was getting his mates, basically a pyramid scheme, getting them to, if you sell this much or get them to buy this much, you'll get a commission. They made 2 or 3K off it, and then they just disappeared. So they still did 2 or 3K, but all the people that have fed the money through, and obviously they lost their stack, so they all got wiped out. And that was like a genius. So what you do, you get like normal people to do your scam for you.
Yeah, well, that's called MLM, which is multi-level marketing. It's a rebranded version of the Ponzi scheme. Yeah. So essentially, you don't really have a product that anyone wants. This happened. This is like the original one of this. It's like the Avon lady.
Oh yeah.
Which it's weird, but that is an MLM where Avon have a load of freaking Tupperware or whatever else, and no one really wants it. So instead, what they do is they get a load of independent like mums that work at home that have a bit of spare time on their hands. They go, oh, buy £1,000 worth of our Avon stuff. And for that £1,000, we've actually sold you like £3,000 worth of gear. So you can now sell that on for profit. But what you can also do is sign up other mums to sell Avon stuff. And then you get 10% of what they sell. And then the same thing happens to them. And before you know it, like there's just so many layers of just people selling Tupperware, knocking on doors. And fundamentally, no one wants this Tupperware. And the main part of the business comes from people just selling. You're now selling the next layer down in the marketing scheme. And that's just progressed into shitcoins, yeah, where it's just, yeah, you sign up, and everyone you sign up, if you get them to put in £500, you get 50 of it. And yeah, and all you do is like, this only lasts at any Ponzi scheme. It can't last for more than 7 layers, because it's 7 layers. It means you've got the entire world in it. So it tends to be whoever starts it, they let it go about like 3 or 4 layers. They typically have a couple of million quid by then. And yeah, they just run off, and the entire thing collapses. And anyone that was holding their bags at the time just realizes they've got a load of worthless junk, if it's, you know, Avon stuff. Or it can be diet, like the ones happening now on Instagram are diet pills and various diet plans. There's like these stupid gel packs that people buy. And yeah, the entire marketing scheme is people are buying loads and loads and loads of this stuff, but purely to resell it to their mates and then try and sign up more people. And yeah, so no one actually wants the product. All they want is the business to resell the product.
Well, you know, you say that, it's really interesting, because I had somebody knock on my door not so long ago for utilities, and it was really weird. It was good timing, because it was just as my water and electrics were going to be renewed. So I said, oh yeah, okay, I'll do a call with you. And he did a little present. He goes, oh, I need to do it on Zoom or something. I was like, why is that? He went, oh, I just want to show you a few things. So I said, I said, you got 10 minutes.
I said, hold on, he knocked on your door.
Yeah.
He knocked on your door saying, I want to do a Zoom call.
No. He knocked on the door. It was like, you know, in the evening.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, because obviously I had a baby in my arms. So he was like, oh, could be for another time. You'd normally do it on the iPad.
Oh, right. It's like, just do it now, dickhead.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want him to do it now.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was quite late. So I was like, oh, I'm interested. If you got some good deals, because I know what these guys are like. They can sometimes, because they sell loads of them, they sometimes get slightly better rates than you can get normally. And I was like, oh, fair enough, VK to commission. But what I did is I went prepared, and I went and found out all my unit rates per whatever it is in kilowatts and mils of water. So I said to him, okay, let's cut to the chase. What is your rates? And he gave me them. I was like, well, I'm already doing better, so no. And he went, now can I show you a video? I was like, okay, go on then. So I let him show it me. And it was basically exactly that. He wanted me to sign up to then start doing this knocking sales. I couldn't believe it.
So the fact is,
it wasn't selling the product. He didn't care about the product. That was the point. He cared about the
even though you've actually just proven, because you did your research before, the product is worse than what you can get from just looking anyway. So this product is so bad, and I've just proven it's bad, but instead you want me to sell it, even though I would not buy this and neither would you.
I think the way it makes you money, if you send them up over all your utilities, like the phone bill, your Sky, I think
no one fucking does that shit.
I know. Oh, I don't think you do, but that's where it looked
it's
like
a scam. That's the perfect scam, right? Because no one's going to do it, because everyone's got different contracts at different times.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you phone up to these places and go, I'm leaving. They go, why are you leaving? You go, oh, I've got like a 10% better rate. They're like, okay, fine, I'll match it. So all you end up, like, no one signs up to these things. The only people that make money are the people that sign up the next person. And ultimately, all he wants is you to work for free, because he will get a cut of everyone you sign up for.
Of course, I know. And
the guy that he quite signed up from, he gets a cut as well. And you've got to realize, if there's this many people taking a cut, it clearly isn't the best price. Because how's all this extra? Where's this extra money come from? Yeah, there's only, like, I don't know, 15 utilities providers in the UK, and you can just ring them up and go direct. So if I'm having to go through 3 guys all taking a cut, clearly it's not going to be the best price. It's because the thing is, it's not like I don't know, like Tupperware, really, weirdly. There's no like consortium around Tupperware that means only these 10 companies can sell it. Like, there's thousands of companies that sell Tupperware. So in reality, you can have a differentiator and go, no, this product is better. But when you're selling gas and electricity, like that just comes through a pipe. Like, it can't be any better or worse than anyone else's. And it's a monopoly in the UK already. Mm-hmm. So there is no such thing as I'm selling a better product. And I found a different source. I'm shipping this in from China. It's like, no, you're not. The gas and electricity comes through the same pipe as it did last time. It comes from the same plant up the road. So it's 100% Ponzi scamming.
Yeah. No, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, I was shocked when I saw what the whole point of that call was. It was not to get me to sign up. It was to get me to sign up and try and do my local area. And I think they had someone quite famous as like the president who did the advert.
They pay these guys 10 grand and they just stand there and go, it's the best product ever. And then
it's influencer, isn't it? It's what it's all about,
Yeah,
influencers.
so, and this is what so many scams do. They get someone credible. Sometimes they trick them into it. Sometimes the people are just desperate for money. And then they pretend that, oh yeah, this is our CEO or our chairman. He's on the board. It's a load of bollocks. Like, no, you're not. You paid him 10 grand to film this little video for you. And then he's gone off, not really knowing what he's done. He's just read it out. And he's a bit strapped for cash. He's probably behind on his taxes. And and you offered him 10K to read out something that took him 5 minutes. And why wouldn't you accept 10 grand for 5 minutes work? It looks like it's going to scam loads of people. Well, I didn't know. I thought it was legit. That'll be
actually, it was Joanna Lumley thinking about it.
Was it?
Anyway. Yeah.
Well, she shouldn't be strapped for cash, but yeah, that's disgraceful. The whole thing, complete fucking scam.
Yeah.
The scams.
And then there is scams everywhere, and they've changed, haven't they? So, like at the moment, the taxes one's going out, isn't it? HMRC's coming around saying you've got a refund. Click on this button. Like Holly's had two. One was like for $3.5 grand. One's for like 1,200. And interestingly, she will be getting a tax refund because of being on maternity. So I wonder or not they know that, because I haven't had any HMRC returns.
No, they just guess. This is hit and hope. They nearly got me 1 year on the TV license thing. I think I've told you about that one, where just as my TV license was coming up for renewal, but fortunately I was cancelling it. It was about 4 years ago. I wanted to cancel my TV license. I didn't want to pay anymore. And so I got a spam email about renewing my TV license. I'm like, oh, I've been thinking about cancelling this. Brilliant. It must be coming up. So I clicked on their spam link. Then I tried to cancel. I went down the links where you cancel, and the page kept breaking. I'm like, what the hell? The TV license website's busted. And I looked at the URL and it had like a dash in it. I'm like, oh my God, this is a fake one. And then I clicked on the proper TV license one and I went through. I'm like, oh my God, they nearly got me there. Now, if I'd have gone, because I can guarantee they only built the website to renew.
To buy. Yeah.
They didn't build in. The links at the bottom didn't go anywhere. So it's so lucky that I was clicking to cancel. Because I think if I'd have just been in the mindset of like, oh, go on, then I'm renewing, that might have been the first time in my life I got scammed. But fortunately, because I've never clicked one of those links without knowing it was a scam before I clicked it. Sometimes I click them just to have a look to see what they're trying to do. But this one, I genuinely thought it was a TV license email just because of good timing. And then, but they didn't get anything out of me. But they got me to click the link, and it took me a few seconds on that page to go, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, that's so interesting.
So it's just hit and hope. If they send the tax rebate emails constantly, and it's
eventually
the ones, it's the parcel ones. Because obviously the parcel
one all the time.
The parcel constantly. So if you constantly say, "Oh, we've got a parcel for you, but we've held it in customs. Just pay this 20 quid and we'll release it." That's a great one, because nearly everyone's got a parcel on its way. And if you just think, "Oh, I really want that thing," 20 quid's a bit of money though. So you click the link and pay the 20 quid, and then the parcel arrives, and they think, "Oh, right, that's why the £20 works." It's like, no, the £20 went to a scammer. The parcel was going to come anyway.
Yeah. Something else I was thinking about as well, on Revolut, they do stocks and shares, don't they?
Yeah.
So you can buy gold, and I think you can buy silver. And I remember when I looked probably about a year ago when I first I bought some Apple shares, and I was just looking. Well, I say shares. I think it was one share. It
wouldn't have been one.
I can't remember now. Maybe it was less. Maybe
you can buy a tiny. You can buy, like, the good thing about Revolut, you don't have to buy a whole share. You can buy a bit of one.
Have a look.
I think a whole Apple share is like £200 or something. So did you put that much in?
I doubt it. I doubt it for 200, but I know it's gone up recently.
Yeah.
So let's have a look. Stocks. About £55. So I got 0.52 of a share.
There you go.
Just over half a share. Yeah. That's scary. I forgot about that. They do little bits, don't they? So anyway, with this thing, because I was always, it's interesting, even though I know that, well, I've learned quite a lot in the last year, but you always think you put your money into gold, don't you? That's a safe investment. A lot of people have told me that in the past. So I just monitored it. I never bought any because it was massively expensive, but you could on Revolut buy a little bit. And it's a stable, it's basically where you put it's like a bank account, isn't it? It stays pretty constant. But anyway, I was just been watching it, and I was going to buy it, I think, when I was looking at it, £1,460, I think, for whatever you're buying, whatever portion of gold you're buying. And now it's down at 1,200. So it's lost £200. And I just think that's quite a significant loss, really, bearing in mind what your cryptos have done, or what Bitcoin's done.
Yeah. Well, gold has been the ultimate store of value for 1,000 years. It's been fantastic. But in the last 10, if you look at the gains that you've got back from gold in the last 10 years, 10 years ago, the price of gold was 1% higher. So you've lost 1% of your money over a 10-year period in gold. And over the last 12 months, you've lost 10% of your money in gold. And now when you factor in inflation, that's roughly 5% per year, your money has basically just, you might as well have just invested in fiat. You might as well have just left the money in a bank account, really, because if you've lost 1% in gold, that means you're 1% down. At least if you just left it in a bank account, you'd be zero. But the spending power over that 10 years would have pretty much halved the money. So if you had 10 grand, you've probably got the spending power of about 6 left over that 10 years. Now, what gold is supposed to do is go up by about 5% a year, which keeps up with inflation. So your 10K over that time, I don't know how much it would be. It probably should have, if it goes up 5% over 10 years, don't know the exact mass, but I think it should be about 15K. So you want about that to be keeping up with inflation. That means your 10K essentially has not gone up to 15. It's just the spending power of 10K is now 15. It's just, so you've got the same amount of money.
Well, you would do, because it'd be backed by gold, wouldn't it? That's the theory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Be on the gold standard, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, there's still questions even about that, because you haven't taken custody of the gold. So there's still question marks about if you've got a paper version of it. Like, do you know that the gold that Revolut is selling you, is there a gold bar? Have you seen it? Like, no. Whereas with Bitcoin, when you buy it, you can withdraw and put it on your ledger. You know you physically have that. So there's the potential that people are selling gold that they don't even have. And they're just selling, because what you've bought essentially is what is called paper gold. So it's an IOU. So it's never as good as if you own gold as a proper store of value and you really want to save your wealth in it. You go and buy some gold bars and you put it in a vault. You put it in a safe. That's how you do it. You know the gold's there. It's physically there. Whenever you buy it on a website, if you have your life savings on a website in gold, you don't really know whether the platform you're using isn't scamming you. But the reason why it's gone down, like the last 10 years has been the turn of gold, when it's just suddenly stopped going up by 5% a year. Well, what happened 10 years ago? Bitcoin came out 12 years ago. And what Bitcoin has done is it's stolen the market share of gold. There's around some like $750 billion now in Bitcoin. And there's about $11 trillion in gold. But that 11 trillion has stayed consistent over like a 10-year period. So what we've essentially done is, as the more people come into the market and they realize that inflation exists and they want to hedge against inflation, they want a store of value, what they're moving to is gold 2.0. They're moving into Bitcoin. And like I said, like, gold's been a fantastic store of value. I still think there's major question marks about it, because I'm very skeptical of what the supply of gold is. I think it's a lot higher, because no one really knows. The only people that do know are the gold miners, and they're incentivized to not say if they find a shit ton of gold under the earth. If they told everyone they just found a shit ton of gold, the price of gold will plummet, because suddenly the supply is going to get smashed onto the market and the price will go down. So if the gold miners ever find a huge bit of gold, they just keep it quiet and just keep putting out 2 or 5% a year, and it just keeps it nice and steady. So I'm skeptical about the supply. No one knows what the supply, other than the gold miners. You can't trust the gold miners. That's like asking the banks how much money there is. You can't trust them either. So yeah, over the last.
How do you know what the market cap is then?
Of what? Gold?
Yeah.
11 trillion.
How do they work that out though?
Oh, that's based on the current supply. That's the current supply that is in circulation. So it's almost like with Bitcoin, right? When you work out the market share for Bitcoin, you work it out based on the 18.5 million Bitcoin that have been mined. But there's another, what's that? There's another
2.5 or something, isn't there?
It's another 3.5. Was it 2.5? Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, there's another 2.5 million Bitcoin that haven't been mined yet. So that's essentially, but no one knows. Like, so with Bitcoin, we know 21 million. 18.5 have been mined, another 2.5 to go. With gold, all we've got is like their equivalent of the 18.5 million. And then it's just, we have no clue what the cap is. It's just, we keep finding 2% a year. So we just keep adding that on, and we just times all that gold by the price, and that gets the market price.
So is that the theory then? So they're saying they're mining 2% extra a year?
Yeah.
Wow. So that 2% is obviously getting considerably bigger each year then?
Yeah. Yeah. 2 to 3% comes out every year. So yeah, so obviously the amount keeps getting bigger. But I'm skeptical about that. I reckon there's a gold miner there that just goes, I could ship out 15-20% more gold this year, but there's no point, because 2% of gold is actually worth more than 20%, because the price will plummet so far that the actual work of getting the gold out the ground won't be worth it. I need to keep like the story going that there's only 2% more gold each time.
So I completely support your thing of not being concerned about that, because you just think how, like, even if you go to like fishermen, they go in the depths of the the deepest seas, and they've got sonar systems that can work out exactly where a shoal of fish are, or a type of fish, and they can fish it at exactly the right depth. So are we telling ourselves that we haven't got that same technology to finding gold? We clearly have, haven't we?
Yeah, well, they do have it. It's just that the only people that have it are them, and they own the land, and they're digging it. So we're just trusting.
Oh, I see.
We're trusting that when whatever their report says is legit, and they're just not incentivized to tell the truth. If anyone does find a huge, massive gold mine, they're not incentivized to tell anyone that it exists if it's too big. But in the last 10 years, I think there's any surprise that if people that have been holding gold the last 10 years, you've lost money. The last year, Bitcoin's gone up 300% over the last 12 months. Bitcoin gold has gone down 10%. So just in the last year, that's huge. If you had 10K in Bitcoin last year, you now have 30K. If you had 10K in gold last year, you now have 9K.
It's massive, isn't it?
Just the last year, and undoubtedly, there's a load of people that have been long-term gold bulls that have been holding large amounts of money in gold. They've been selling it off and switching into Bitcoin. It's just Bitcoin is gold 2.0. It's just that's the easiest model to pick. It's just if you were to, back in the day, if you go back hundreds of years, like gold is great, right? It's communication is tough. You need things physically. It's easy to transact and all that. But once you've got the internet, once now you've got billions of people all connected, and I can do trade all around the world in seconds, I need to be able to transfer wealth through this thing. And what Satoshi did is he built money for the internet and to store value for the internet, and that's Bitcoin. So gold did great for thousands of years, but it took until 2009 a better product came along, and now it's over. Gold's going to zero now. Its only use case is going to be jewelry, and it won't be very expensive.
Yeah, well, like you say, it become the new copper, won't it? However,
it will still be it will still have like a value for jewelry, but once people stop buying it as a store of value, the price of gold is going to plummet. So we'll get jewelry for it, but the thing is, with anything with jewelry, this is like always one of those things. And this goes back to like why we buy wedding rings. I love this when someone like told me about this, and really the real reason why we buy wedding rings and why the typical value of a ring that you use to propose, typically it's 3 months' wages. What that is essentially showing is a level of commitment from the man to the woman that gives her confidence he's going to stick about, because he's making this type of investment in her and in the relationship. So when the price of gold goes down, all we're going to do is, well, obviously the main price in that stuff is the diamond anyway. Mm-hmm. So if the gold price goes down, all that happens is we spend more on the diamond. So like jewelry and
get into diamonds.
Yeah. So which again, diamonds are a scam as well, weirdly. Like we can make diamonds in a lab now. We can make them perfect and they can make them massive, but no one wants them, because again, the reason why people and girls want the legit diamonds is because they're expensive and it shows commitment. They don't want the same ring for 1/10 of the cost, even though it's a legit diamond in the middle that came out of a lab. They want the one that costs 3 months' wages.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Interesting theory, because it is meant to be 3 months' wages, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I was unemployed when I proposed.
Exactly. I always say that to me as well. I'm like, I have 3 months of my wages.
How much you win? Nothing.
I'm a professional bum, bitch.
Not quality. So what I thought about is I've had a few people that are listening in now to this, and I think we've gone into enough sort of superficial level stuff about Bitcoin where I think the idea's got. So I was listening to a couple of the 4Bs pod, even though it was only the 2Bs, and I really liked the a bit of the history about the US dollar, the way you explained it, and I think it'd be quite nice because at the moment, if you just dip into this, because our conversations that we have, they are like a little highlight of what we discuss on a wider basis. So people that are following this through would just be thinking conspiracy theorists because it's quite extreme views, isn't it? Like you think government a scam. We've just been talking about utility scams, and then we're saying the government a scam in the same breath. It's quite insane. So what I did really like, different levels of that's right, but everyone trusts the government as we've talked about in the past as well,
because they got the most money to convince you that their scam is not a scam, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And instead of one guy knocking on your door, they have the BBC and thinking everything, like pumping out TV channels and newspapers constantly telling you how legit the government is. So imagine, like, I don't even blame people for believing it because the propaganda is so convincing.
Yeah, and here's a question for you: are Bitcoiners Brexiters, or would they have been to stay? What do you reckon they would have been? If we had had the Bitcoin Twitter, because I was obviously nowhere near that back in 2016. I was too busy in LA and Vegas. But I wonder what they would have been saying. But because obviously not really that political anyway. They just don't believe in it. So technically, they would want to get out of another government. So Europe was a government. So interestingly, we always said, like, why would people say Brexit? There's a lot of mis reasons for that. And again, that was a good excuse for like a lot of scam reasons for leaving, wasn't it? That people put out and obviously people bought into. But why would you want to be in a second government, i.e. Europe, which is non-elected? So when you think back, it probably leave was the right thing, wasn't it? But then
it depends. It depends. Yeah, I think fundamentally, I think Bitcoiners probably would have been on both sides for different reasons. Because fundamentally, when you actually go into politics, Bitcoiners are quite spread out across the spectrum. But by and large, we all just don't care and we don't want any of it to happen. When you pick up individual policies, sometimes Bitcoiners are on both sides. But if you look at the key thing, like the two big things that have happened in the UK over the last like 10 years, it's been Brexit and then it's been this lockdown stuff. And what won both things to win the public over? It's the NHS. Brexit was save the NHS, £250 million a week. None of that money transpired. It never happened. And then why did we lock down? Protect the NHS, flatten the curve. So everyone went, okay. So weirdly, if you want to win any political argument, just go, but my side has the NHS on it. Oh, right, you win then. You win.
Well, because it means that you're caring for the masses, doesn't it? You can't be against the NHS because if you go against the NHS, you don't care about people. You don't care about humanity. Yeah.
And it can be a lie, because in reality, Brexit cost the country money, which meant fundamentally Brexit cost the NHS money. And then lockdown. This is a good start. Which is just the fact that we protected the NHS, did we? We didn't. We flattened the curve. Well, this time last year there was 4 million people on NHS waiting lists. Fast forward to today, there's now 5.5 million people on NHS waiting lists, and that is predicted to rise to 13 million. So when we say there's going to be a spike in activity in NHS and they're going to get overwhelmed, so we lock down to prevent that. Fast forward to the beginning and the end of lockdown, what we have caused is one of the biggest waiting lists of all time in the NHS. So you want to flatten a curve? You're a fucking joker. You have created the biggest spike. 13 million people are predicted over the next year to be on NHS waiting lists. This is going to be like people with just like, ACL injuries like I had, just like hips, like the non-urgent stuff. They're going to be waiting years and years and years for operations. And the NHS is going to be overwhelmed, overworked, underpaid, underfunded, and they're going to have the biggest waiting list ever. So
interesting you talk about that because my latest assignment for the MBA is on strategy, and I've chosen diagnostic radiology weights post-COVID. And it's such an easy one to do because where I actually do, I do believe that the lockdown was, when it was first put in place, had the first one anyway, that the reasons behind it were the unknown. It could have, because if you think about what we were getting led to believe and shown, especially in the early days of Italy and of China, they were all in those bubble cocoon things, weren't they? Because it was like the dead, the Black Plague again. So they were obviously, the lockdown was to prevent just the whole of the hospitals becoming just plagues. the issue was obviously it was the thought process of learning and moving with the times and continuing on that platform. Now we've just moved away from it.
And they're not even, the flatten the curve went away about 6 weeks in. Now
Well,
it's down,
that's-
now we're down into a point of zero COVID, and everyone has to be fucking injected with some experimental drug. This is like, and all they've done is they've caused the exact reason why we started all this was to save the NHS. And now through this continued action of closing down half the NHS, we have screwed over the NHS staff. But even worse than that, it's the patients sat on that waiting list.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, and those waiting lists are massive, and they are big, and it's difficult. And
it's like 30 million as well, just to put it into context. Like there's only 80 million people in the UK. So that's 20% of people are on the waiting list.
Well, that's potential. There's like 5.5, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, 5.5 now. But like this is the NHS people. This isn't like conspiracy theorists. I'm hearing these people on the news now.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. The waiting lists are going to be cropping up massively, and it's going to be because we've always had waiting lists, you see, because we've always had all these people with all these illnesses, and those illnesses didn't go away, but they stopped getting looked at, and that's absolutely true. And we are seeing an absolutely overwhelming amount of people coming through A&E. I've told you that before. And that's because of nothing to do with COVID, though. It's because of other things.
Well, it's 4 million before. I was amazed at the 4 million number. That sounds huge, and that's normal. 4 million people on a waiting list is normal, apparently. I never knew that. I'm like, oh, okay, but now it's 5.5, and they think it's going to go up to 13. Yeah, but anyway, US dollar.
Yeah. So yeah, when we were talking about inflated prices and stuff like that, I can't remember how we were going to go into it. So I was basically going to say about the US dollar, and you talked a bit about the history of it. And to put context in, you shared the video, didn't you? And then you gave me the highlight reel because we won't get to watch it. Yeah. And it was really interesting. And then you explained it with Mr. I Never Look or Sir Never Look.
Yeah.
And it was really well put. So can you just talk us through how you explained why the US dollar? Well, to be honest, I was actually quite impressed with the US dollar being the last one to fall from the standard, but obviously it sounds horrendous what actually goes on, and it's all backed by references, I take it.
Oh yes, it's all just history. It's just I don't think hardly any of it is disputed. It's just there. But yeah, I've forgotten the name of the show now, but I have to link it. So if anyone's listening to it and they want to watch the video, I'll put the link at the bottom and you can click it. It's a 30-minute video about the petrodollar, it's called.
Petrodollar, that's it, yeah.
And it's just about how did the US dollar, because the petrodollar essentially means the oil dollar. So essentially right now, oil is denominated in dollars. If you want oil, no matter who you are, you have to buy it of dollars. Not pounds, not euros, not gold, dollars. You have to have dollars. So America controls the supply of oil for the world. And how did this all come about? Well, it all started at the end of World War II, when the entire world was pretty skint. And we've just been fighting the Nazis, managed to beat them, but everyone had been printing money out of thin air. The economies were destroyed, bombs everywhere. So everyone decided, or somehow America managed to convince everyone, we'll look after the gold. Our economy's about the most stable, so we'll look after the gold. So they took all the gold in. Everyone shipped their gold over to them. They put it into Fort Knox in America. And then they had the life of Riley. They just started going crazy with it. They realized they had all the money, started lending it, taking out loans, building out infrastructure. And it got to about the 1970s, and everyone just started calling in their debt to America, and they had an economic crash. So all the other countries went, America, can we have our gold back? It looks like you're having a bit of a hard time over there. So just to be sure, I think we're good enough now. Our economies have recovered. We'll have the gold back. America went, nah, I think we're off the gold standard now. So now, instead of having gold, you can have dollars. And our dollars are just as good as gold, because $1 equals $1 of gold. We're good for it. Don't worry. And they went, oh, and by the way, we've got a massive military. So if you don't agree, we may shoot you. So everyone just went, all right, fine. Like, how much gold have I got? And say you've got like 4 billion in gold or 10 billion in gold, whatever it was. They just gave you that amount of money, but in dollars. And they printed those dollars out of thin air and just gave it to you. So what this essentially did was America stole the world's gold and just gave everyone else worthless pieces of paper. Mm-hmm. So that was how they kind of became a world power, and that's how the US dollar became the default for the world, because everyone was forced to accept it instead of having their gold back. We were formally came off the gold standard, we went on to a US dollar standard because everyone was now flush with dollars instead of gold. So suddenly the world starts trading and buying and selling in dollars now. And this carries on, but then the Middle East have a high concentration of oil, and also their economies are much further behind. And yeah, and America were getting involved. They like shipping out war, like tanks and guns and bombs. They love selling all that stuff. So they were selling a load of this to Israel, and they were currently at war with Saudi Arabia. And they were causing quite a bit of damage to Saudi Arabia, and America were helping them. So Saudi Arabia were like, can you stop that, please? You're kind of killing a lot of our people indirectly. If you Israel, we can smash Israel to pieces if you stop giving them all the bombs. And America went, no, that's really profitable. No, I think we'll carry on. And Saudi Arabia went, well, fuck you then. We give you all, we're like your number one supply of oil. We're going to cut you off. We're going to put you on a sanctions list and call you a load of terrorists. So that's what they did. They cut America off on the oil, and they charged 4 times more for oil to anyone else. They pretty much like held the world to ransom and go, stop bombing us, or when you're not going to have any of our oil. So America were forced to go and negotiate with them. And then what came the worst trade of the entire world was Saudi Arabia agreed to a deal. And the deal was, we will accept US dollars for our oil, but in return, you have to give us shit tons of guns, bombs, tanks, just military stuff. So America went, okay. And then America also went, oh, and by the way, we're also doing this deal with you, and you're accepting US dollars for oil now. All your mates have to do it as well. We need to get everyone to agree. And they managed to get them to agree. So it was now illegal to sell oil for anything that wasn't US dollars. So essentially this gave America free oil, because their dollars, they print out of thin air, so they could just ship that in. So they did the ultimate good deal. And then they have basically enforced that through military force over the last 50 years since this all kicked off. There's 3 examples of where people have tried to break out from the petrodollar. We had, first it was Iraq. We had Saddam Hussein. He came up and went, no, I don't want dollars. I'm going to accept gold. I want to start increasing our gold reserves again. So America didn't like that. They went in, started a war, killed him, dragged him out, humiliated him, hung him from a pole. They now accept dollars for their oil again. That quickly got fixed. We then had Libya. So it was Colonel Gaddafi. He came out and went, you know what? I don't want dollars either, these worthless pieces of paper that America give us. I want gold as well. So yeah, they invaded him quite quickly, blew his country apart, killed him, hung him up from a stick as well. And so now they accept dollars for their oil. And then we had Venezuela. They came out and started to go, we want to form tighter relationships with Europe. So instead of accepting dollars for our oil, we want to accept euros. America went and funded a military coup that overthrew that government, destabilized the whole country. They kind of forgot about their little plan to accept oil for euros. So they carried on accepting oil for dollars instead. So essentially, each time someone has tried to break out of the petrodollar, America have just enforced it, and through military force. Now, each of those 3 examples there, they were dictators. They were quite disgusting people that were committing mass murder and genocide in their individual countries. But there are many dictators like that. Right the way through Africa, there are dictators like that. But however, it's very interesting that they cherry-picked these 3 dictators that were in the Middle East, all have very large gold reserves, and all wanted to come off the petrodollar. Just after that, that is when America invades. Always for humanitarian reasons. They're always going in as the good guy, but in reality, you see it and it doesn't look too good. Fast forward almost to more recent times, you've got 9/11, and so 15 of the 19 hijackers in the 9/11, kind of when they brought down the Twin Towers, 15 of those people were from Saudi Arabia. And then the Taliban themselves were from Pakistan. Now, America have very close relationships with both of those countries. They're very friendly. Didn't want to invade those guys. Even Osama bin Laden is Saudi Arabian. That's where he comes from. But obviously, Saudi are the originators of the petrodollar deal. tighter than tight with America. They do very well out of it. They're heavily armed. And even though they have to accept dollars, they get a shit ton of military. So they're happy with their deal still. They didn't get invaded. Instead, Afghanistan got invaded, which had a very small concentration of Taliban within it. However, Saudi Arabia and a few other countries did want to put a big oil pipeline straight away across Afghanistan to make the oil supply into Europe a bit more efficient. And it just so happened at the time, the Afghanistan government were telling them to fuck off, and they didn't want to do it. So during the Afghanistan war that's still ongoing now, they overthrew that government, blew the country to pieces, put a new government in. One of the first things that government did was okay the oil pipeline, which has now been put in and is very convenient and making America and Saudi Arabia a shit ton of money. So
wow,
that's how you enforce a standard through military force. But essentially where we are right now is they're nearly running out of time. They've hyperinflated their currency. They can only enforce it through military force for so long. If you look at where the smart countries are putting their money now, it used to be just buy US commodities, so their bonds, their property, their stocks. But if you look at China, Russia, Europe, the UK, they have stopped buying those commodities now. They are putting it into other things. They're bringing it in country. So essentially, the confidence in US dollar is dropping. Even America are getting less confident about their own dollar. So it looks like they're coming to the end. They can only enforce this for so long. But typically, there hasn't really been an alternative. So it looks like it's time for a change. The US dollar has been, fiat's been around for about 50 years and 500 years, government money, but the US standard has been around for about 50 years. And that's typically how long fiat lasts for before it collapses. So yeah, this is the perfect time to move on to the next standard, which is the Bitcoin standard. And
US dollar 2.0.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is the fact that we don't have to fight anyone. You know, we are all individual citizens around the world. We can convert our money, and the US government can't do anything, especially if you're not inside their jurisdiction. Americans are going to be screwed. They will go after their own people, and they will enforce it through threats to stop them buying Bitcoin eventually. But everyone else, it's a silent protest. You just convert your money into Bitcoin, and you move on to the new standard. That instead of the tyrannical reign of America that has been going on for the last 50 years.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about America going in to beat Afghanistan, because I've just had a pop up on my phone a couple of hours ago, and it said UK announced its 600 troops to deploy to Afghanistan to assist British nationals leave. So it sounds like, you know, even when we went to war with Afghan and Iraq all those years ago, we went in as helpers to USA, didn't we, to sort of keep those allegiances. So if USA are going to start being really dodgy about Bitcoin, and because I know you were saying about them making it illegal and stuff like that, and becoming almost, I can't remember what you said, but you said words like effective. If you're broken, Bitcoin is illegal, so therefore every transaction, which is technically me giving you a birthday card with £5 worth of Bitcoin in, would be technically me becoming a broker. I would be breaking the law, and then I would potentially go to prison. Do it multiple times, I am then a mass breaker of the law, and I could be in prison forever. And so what are we thinking about how the government in England aren't going to take that check? Admittedly, but by the way, let's just caveat that with the fact that we've already got fully subscribed prisons.
Oh yeah, they can always make more though. Prisons are fantastic business. They're almost better than universities. You make a shit ton of money out of prisons, especially in America, because they're all private. So they want to fill up their prisons. It's a huge money making scheme for them.
How do you make money out of a prison?
Because you get it. Well, you get it from the money printer, because you get money per prisoner. It also funds the courts or the police. So there's people getting paid all the way through, right? This is why the war on drugs, I don't want to go into another freaking thing, but the war on drugs is a huge, it's such a big economy now. They never want to stop the war on drugs because too many people get paid chasing criminals. So if they suddenly just legalize drugs and like, you know what, we've lost so many people we put out of work that they just want to keep it going because they almost don't want to admit that they've lost. But yeah, prisons are super profitable, and yeah, I do expect more and more governments to continue to make it difficult and try and make Bitcoin illegal. And look, this just we saw, right? How did the people get, when the gold standard came about, everyone had their individual money. How did the governments all get the gold? The way they did it was during a 100-year period. Each government did it differently, but essentially what they did is they made holding gold illegal. So this is fully what I expect them to do with Bitcoin. So essentially what they said was, if you hold over more than 1 ounce of gold, you are a criminal and you can be put in prison for like 10 years. You have to pick up your gold, take it to the bank, and you'll receive IOU notes, which were fiat money that you can exchange for gold at any time. But then as the years went by, they just decided, actually, no, you know, those little bits of paper you've got, yeah, you can't return them for gold now. Like they're yours. So I fully expect that to happen with Bitcoin, where they go, that you can have, I don't know, say £1,000 worth of Bitcoin in your personal possession, which is day-to-day spends. But any more than that is illegal. You have to send it to your government address. We'll look after it for you. Don't worry. We'll give you IOU notes and we're good for it. We're good. You can come back at any time, exchange your notes for your Bitcoin. But what they'll do, it'll be a trick. Over time, we'll be on the Bitcoin standard as a government until we're not. And eventually they go, actually, you know what? You know, this Bitcoin, really valuable, isn't it? Yeah, it's ours now. And yeah, we're just going to print printing notes. But the thing is, the problem is this scam's already been played out. All the Bitcoiners know. We saw what happened with gold. So we know it's coming with Bitcoin. So we're trying to tell everyone, like, do not fall for this scam. It is going to come. And the second the government start to enforce this stuff, either leave and go to a more friendly place or just don't do it. The thing is, with the gold standard, when they did this, they never went round anyone's house with guns going, where's your gold? Everybody just took it voluntarily.
Well, look what we're doing currently is voluntarily.
Yeah, everyone just voluntarily locked themselves in their home and then trotted off and took a vaccine that they don't know what the fuck it is. No one got forced to do that. They just got told to, and everyone just toddled off. The same thing will happen with Bitcoin. And to be honest, I would imagine everyone that owns Bitcoin right now, we're going to be the ones to go, fuck off. I've seen this scam coming for ages. The problem is, over the next 10, 20 years, when all the other Bitcoiners come in, they're not going to probably know this knowledge because it's just going to become part of their life and they're not going to know any of this background. And then when the governments start enforcing this stuff and putting all the propaganda on TV and calling everyone a criminal, they're just going to toddle off and go, oh, here's my ledger, sir. There you go. Sorry. Oh, I get all this money, though. I get all this paper. Awesome. And they're just going to be laughing at them going, morons. They've just given up their sound money for bits of paper that I just printed out the printer out the back. Morons. And it's exactly what they did with gold. So that's going to be the main attack that they probably come through on Bitcoin. And the thing is, we know it's coming. So we've got to.
I've always been thinking about how will this, because obviously if the storage of money or storage of wealth disappears over 500 years, then how's this one going to play out? Because it should never play out now. But that's the way it's going to play out, isn't it? It's basically fiat in the store of wealth, which is not gold, it's Bitcoin.
Yeah, they'll try and take all the Bitcoin and give you bits of paper in exchange. And to start with, their target will be to have the 21 million Bitcoin in their possession. And whatever the market cap of that is, say by then it'll probably be like 100 trillion or something crazy.
Yeah.
They'll just go, don't worry, here's all the dollars or pounds in exchange for your Bitcoin.
Here's one for you then. So
it'll be 1-to-1, but slowly but surely, because gold is 1-to-1. They had like $5 trillion and they had $5 trillion worth of gold. It was 1-to-1. But then slowly, once it came off the gold standard, the amount of dollars just goes up and up and up. And now suddenly there's like $200 trillion worth of dollars out there and still the same amount of gold. So these dollars now are not backed by anything.
So how could the market cap be like hundreds of trillion when where's that money coming from now? So you got the Bitcoin, which is going to be obviously a medium of exchange. How was it going to have, like, obviously gold was the backing of the dollars. I suppose will dollars still be in existence and would just be the equivalent of?
Yeah, well, basically, all the wealth of the existing system will go into Bitcoin, right? So this happens every time when a new money comes along. It takes 100% of everything.
Yeah.
So gold took 100% of everything. If you were holding silver, copper, seashells, whatever it was, they all went to zero. Gold now is the standard. The entire net worth of the world pretty much was denominated in gold.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. And now, like, it's US dollar. The entire world is denominated in US dollar. If you look at how many dollars there are, it's pretty much the GDP of the entire globe. When the Bitcoin standard comes along, boom. And especially at the moment, we're denominating this market cap of Bitcoin in dollars, which doesn't work because as we start going, the actual price per Bitcoin will be infinity, because just like the Zimbabwe dollar, you can now have 1 trillion, like Zimbabwe dollars is worth like 1 penny. So that'll be essentially the thing. It's like, oh yeah, 1 Bitcoin would be worth like 100 trillion. You go, oh wow, I'm like the richest person on the planet. Like, well, no, you can buy a house. You can buy a house of that because the dollar's worthless. No one accepts dollars now. It's just like how no one accepts Zimbabwe dollars. Once hyperinflation hits, the game's up, and that's what we just got to do. We got to just keep converting our money into Bitcoin and just try and get this to happen before they can really stop it.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's been a bit of a story of inflation, hasn't it? Everything's inflating around us. But I do think, though, the lockdown has speeded up some of Bitcoin, because if you think now, it was even little changes, like you used to be able to do contactless up to £15 or £20. Now it's like 45, 50. There's probably some companies doing it higher. I haven't put my PIN number into a card machine for such a long time because of the whole not wanting to touch things, and that's the rule, isn't it? So everything's like contactless. Even use your phone now. So I think people are getting very much more used to, because that's not money. Doing this beep is not money. That's not money. Money's £5 notes, which aren't even in existence really anymore. That was what we were used to, handling that money, giving someone a fiver. Now you don't do that. It's different. Because of COVID reasons, people stopped doing stuff like that. Cash became almost not accepted. Even in burger vans, they're like, no, we don't accept cash. Like, you never accepted card, like, but now you don't accept cash. It's just like gone backwards. So digital currency has happened. It's here. It's done. We're there. So I think it's fast forwarded a few years for sure, because I think even the grannies of the world now go beep. So what's the difference about having that and having a blue wallet on your phone? There is literally going to be no difference, is there? I think we are technologically advanced for where Bitcoin is right now for the adoption process. So I think that's actually it. Like, I think the people are ready to do this more. They don't understand and believe it yet.
Yeah, but that tends to always be the way with every single technical innovation. The customers get there before the product's ready, right? I remember using the internet, 96 or whatever, trying to play games, trying to do stuff, slow as shit. Phone would ring, cut your connection. So the internet would have had billions of people on it in 1996, but it wasn't ready. We didn't have broadband, didn't have like fiber connections, and because all in the network wasn't built yet, the products weren't built, and all the websites weren't even there. So it takes
developers weren't ready
20, 30 years for any new technical development that's going to revolutionize the world just to take part. So we're 12 years in the moment, the Bitcoin infrastructure is super solid, but just imagine what it's going to be like another 12. And the good thing is, like, the foundation of it, just like with the internet essentially just connected the entire world through a load of nodes, and that never changed. It's just the nice user interface on top changed to connect it to the people. That's exactly the same what's happening with Bitcoin right now. The underlying code that Satoshi wrote 12 years ago pretty much stayed the same. Bitcoin's had 21 million in it. There's tiny little fixes going in and around the sides that happen every couple of years, but they're tiny. All the work really is going in on the user interface layer on top. All the exchanges, the wallets, education, books, podcasts, just educating people what the hell this Bitcoin thing is. That's where we are. We're in the user interface layer, and essentially what we are. It's 1998 at the moment, and
we're Commodore 64 or DOS.
Yeah, well, that was before the internet even.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
But like, what is it? It was like AOL.
Frogger. AOL and MSN.
Yeah, we're there. That's when the internet, and then you're trying to tell people then you're going to spend your entire life on this thing. You're like, it's good for half an hour in an evening to chat to your mates, but I'm never going to use this for banking and playing my computer games. Like, it's too slow. It's too shit. It's insecure. Like, no. I just like troll people on the internet, in the chat rooms. that's where we are in Bitcoin, where they think, oh no, it's just this little thing that you just like the geeks are into it. No, this is going to be the entire world's money. It's coming. And most people dismiss it. But it's like dismissing the internet in 1998. You look really stupid 20 years later. And 20 years later, everyone would now go, oh, no, I would never have said that. No, obviously it's going to do that. Well, yeah, now it's all played out and you use it every day. It's easy to see. Hindsight is always 2020. And this is where money is to be made. If you wanted to make money, you got to predict the future. And if you predict the future on money, you can't. This is like buying a piece of the internet in 1994, which you couldn't do. There was no internet stock to invest in. You'd have to pick the companies built on top of it. And most of those companies that got created in the early stage of the internet, they all failed. They all just went bust. And it was the ones that came after that were the Amazons, the Facebooks, the Googles. They actually were like 4th or 5th iterations of the same thing. So it's very, very hard to actually make money on the internet unless you really knew your stuff. And you had to pick and choose out of thousands which 2 are going to win. Bitcoin, this is like just going, the internet's going to win. And, well, yeah, of course. Oh, there's only 21 million tokens that represent the internet. Oh, great. Can I have one? Yeah, you can. And now it doesn't matter which companies get built on the internet, provided the internet's a thing, you get rich. That's Bitcoin. There's 21 million of it. It doesn't matter which company, whether it's Coinbase or Blue Wallet or Kraken, all those can go bust. It doesn't even matter. You don't have to invest in them. Don't go buy Coinbase stock. Waste of time, because Coinbase could go bust. Their CEO could do something dodgy and the stock goes down. Now, just buy the underlying layer, buy some Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin wins, you win.
Yeah. Get off the Titanic. Get on your little raft.
Get it on a ledger.
Get on a ledger.
And when they tell you it's illegal, tell them lol. And don't tell anyone else that you've got Bitcoin anyway. Just hide it. Yeah. Keep it as a store of value. Put it in a safe. Forget about it and go, my grandkids are having that. And you're gonna be just ride out, like we've said, that little boat as we're sailing away, it's gonna get rocky. It's gonna be some big waves coming, and they're probably gonna be government waves. And there's a lot of people are gonna get washed out. A lot of people are gonna make mistakes and get nicked, but fucking hold on tight, keep your conviction, keep your Bitcoin. And eventually we're gonna get to land, and it's gonna be beautiful.
I can't wait for Citadel.
It's gonna be like Ibiza in 2010.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and happy days. Good pod. Have fun staying put.
Have fun staying put, boys.
Laters, bro.